Many thanks, Pedro. If you can just put up the slide. And as the slide is coming up, because this session is really looking at strengthening child protection through local partnership and equitable resource mobilization, it will be good to just see by through the chat how many local and national actors have attended this session. So if your organization is representing local and national actor, you can put in the chat, just type 1. And if you're also from an international actor, in the chat box, you can just type 2. Thank you. I see responses have started streaming. Many thanks. Thank you very much, colleagues. As we begin this session, just to highlight that this session will focus on strengthening child protection, to highlight some insights on strengthening child protection through equitable partnerships and equitable partnership and equitable resource mobilization. Just to flip quickly to the next slide. And just to mention that really the goal of this session, which will take 1 hour, will mainly focus on sharing insights on equitable partnerships and enabling direct funding to local and national actors through the Ignite project and the global CPAOR and Street Child initiatives. So we will have participants who will share their experiences on both the Ignite project and also the global CPAOR and Street Child initiative that has been strengthening capacities of local and national actors to access funding. Colleagues, allow me to introduce Joyce. Next slide, please. Joyce, who is the current Deputy Coordinator for the Global Child Protection Area of Responsibility, for introduction and also welcome opening remarks. Thank you very much. Joyce, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As Denis has said, thank you for joining us today during this session of the Alliance annual meeting. We are very pleased with the interest that we have seen. And on today's session, we would like to reflect on how we can all contribute, or how we are all contributing towards a more locally led and more locally driven child protection humanitarian response. We may all be aware of the many changes that are in place worldwide in relation to humanitarian action and specifically to funding. Those are more recent, but I think all of us, especially national and local actors, have had the experience of what it means to access funding for humanitarian action, and it can be quite challenging. We've seen a lot of conditionalities put for national and local organizations in order to access funding, whether that funding is available globally or at country level. And part of the work that we have been doing as the entities that are presenting today, the IRC, the Global Child Protection Area of Responsibility, and Street Child, is to show what we can do to try and make access to funding for national and local organizations much more equitable. We know that the narrative out there is strong about what we need to be doing to have a better field in terms of a level playing field for access to funding, for participation in the humanitarian responses, but we need to see the actions, just not just the words. So today we will be looking at 2 areas. One is around principled and equitable partnerships, as Denis has mentioned, and the other one is about strengthening the capacities of national and local organizations who may have been assessed to be missing some of those requirements in order for them to access the funding. And we are very happy to have the colleagues who will be speaking today to present today. So today we hear from them their experiences, from their examples, and hope that you can learn from them. But we also encourage you to share your own experiences in the chat. We may not have a lot of time for questions and answers for people to speak, so we encourage you to post your chat or your question or your comment or your experience on the chat in the language that you find most useful, and we'll try to use some tools to translate that and respond to that. And we'll also try and respond to some questions on the Q&A directly. So with that, I welcome you once again, and I'm going to introduce two colleagues. One of them is Carlinda. Yes, thank you very much. One of them is Carlinda Lopez, who works with the International Rescue Committee and specifically with the IGNITE Consortium. We will learn a little bit more what the IGNITE Consortium is all about. And then we will have Raquel Kasham Daniel, who is a founder of Beyond Classroom, and Raquel will be giving her experience as an organization, as leading an organization relating to the work that IRC has been doing on the IGNITE Consortium. So I'll open the floor now to Carlinda, and then Raquel will follow, and we'll hear from both of them on the IGNITE partnership and the consortium. Carlinda, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joyce. It is a pleasure to be here today. I have the privilege to present to you the IGNITE project. I hope we can move on to the next slide, please, of the presentation. And I think that this is a very unique opportunity to discuss a bit more how the IGNITE project is focusing on localization, and so happy to have with us Raquel, and I look forward to hearing from her very soon. So the IGNITE project is a consortium. IGNITE stands for Inspiring Girls and Grassroots Networks for Inclusive and Transformative Education. We work as a consortium that is funded by the French Development Agency and is composed of IRC, the Partnership for African Social and Governance Research PASCR, Neelima Foundation, and Urgent Action Fund. So IGNITE is dispersing funds into regions, the Sub-Saharan Africa and Middle East, and over 7 countries. These are Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Jordan, Lebanon, and Nigeria. So IGNITE is quite easy to understand by the numbers, but what makes IGNITE unique are the elements that are harder to quantify. IGNITE is a feminist project. So this demands that we work with partners as equals, that we focus on inclusive co-designing of everything that we do, because these are the feminist principles that we focus on, and this is throughout the entire project, including the grant-making manual, our grant-making strategy that we developed as a consortium. For us, it's so important that with the project, we focus on accompaniment. So this means that it's a practice that we learned from our grant-making partner, Urgent Action Fund Africa, which is basically our opportunity to, beyond the phase of proposal writing and the project design, to stand with grantees in everything that we do. And this means that we're not only focusing on disbursing funds, but also on capacity strengthening of our grantees. So the goal of the IGNITE Consortium is actually not one that is written on our project proposal, but what we leave as an IGNITE project team and as a consortium. We really want grantees to leave the partnership with IGNITE feeling that they are strong organizations for having worked with us. And we do hope that the CSOs really feel that they've moved from the margins to the mainstream and that they are really at the core of our project. We have already heard time and time again from our partnership with IGNITE that CSOs feel that being part of a project like IGNITE really adds to their credibility, because they are associated with international NGOs like IRC, Urgent Action Fund Africa, and also working with a donor, the French Development Agency. But for us, these CSOs were always credible. We always were really counting on their expertise to share with their communities and the world, because we really see that they are the ones that are able to drive change in the local communities that they work in. And hopefully through a project like Ignite, they have opportunity to be able to work long-term in a more sustainable manner and with further funds. Next slide, please. So in terms of the Ignite, our theory of change. So as a project, as a consortium, we're really seeking to advance gender transformative education and empower adolescent girls. So through our theory of change, we really want to ensure that we achieve this outcome. And if we support feminist civil society organizations through capacity sharing that targets both technical capacity in education and working with adolescent girls, as well as organizations' capacity in areas like finance, safeguarding, monitoring, evaluation and learning, fundraising, alongside with evidence-based advocacy and grant making, then that we can have a multiplier effect. We believe that the investment of Ignite will ensure that CSO grantees not only reach adolescent girls with Ignite funding projects, but also that they will be stronger organizationally so that they can successfully get support for and implement new projects while also advocating for their work and girls' overall empowerment. So thank you very much. I'll stop here.
Okay. And next slide should be for Raquel. Thank you very much, Kalinda, for that brilliant presentation explaining what Ignite does. And so for us as Beyond the Classroom Foundation, we're one of the grantees of the current Ignite project. So our project is called Beyond Her Art Initiative. And our goal is to support adolescent girls through education, training, and awareness, and then policy support. And so we do this through different projects. So we have one of our core projects, which is the Reignite project. Sounds like Ignite. But then, so for us is to reignite the passion for girl education in the girls that are out of school, those who have dropped out of school due to early pregnancies or poverty, or anything that that's hindering them, including social norms in their homes, in their community. The goal is to help them complete their education, no matter the challenge that they are faced. So we are doing it in different phases. So we are using awareness, which is going to different schools to ensure that everyone understands girls' rights, including going to communities, so having parent forum with community leaders to just kind of explain to them that the girls have a right to education in their community. And then we'll also work with educators in schools to ensure that, and that's a Safer Classroom project where teachers and educators in school understand the rights of girls in their school settings. So how can you, as an educator or a counselor or a principal in a school, support girls and create a conducive and safe learning environment for girls in school? And then we have policy, where we're already saying that there's so many policies that are already in place in Nigeria around girl education, but they're not implemented and enforced. So how can we work with stakeholders and the government to ensure that these policies are enforced in schools? So our Beyond Her Art project also is going on radio. We're starting our radio show tomorrow morning. Is a mass media campaign to talk on radio, to educate the population about girls' rights, bringing in people and young women who have gone through different issues in life and have surmounted those challenges, to inspire girls and to let everyone on radio, is reaching about 200,000 people per listeners, to just understand the basic rights of the girl child in Nigeria. So I'll be speaking next on my slide about, and that's about our project. I'll be talking about how working with Ignite has helped us. So first thing I would say is that working with Ignite is something that is very different. We've never had anyone work with us the way we've been working. And we've been in this space for 15 years, working across communities with different funders. But Ignite came in very differently. First, they gave us a lot of support. from the application phase, I recall very well that usually when you apply for grants from big multinationals, from funders, the next thing you get is either a yes or a no. But then with the Ignite project, they saw our project and saw potential in our project. And the next thing we got was an email to say, get on a call. We need to understand what you're trying to say here. What are these numbers? And is this even feasible? And for us, that was fantastic because this never happened before. And that gave us opportunity to explain our context. So if there was anything that we had put on our application that didn't really come out very well, where we had the opportunity to explain what that meant. So the door wasn't shut on us. It just helped to make our application better. And that alone wasn't something that we've ever seen with any grant making organization ever before. And then the communication has really been impressive because they're very responsive. Most times you get funding from a donor and then you don't hear from them for months, and then you just start getting messages saying, oh, send us reports, and then you don't know what to do. But with the Ignite project, communication is very responsive. They're very quick to respond to our messages, give us updates, and there's always someone to check in, which is another thing. There's always someone to check in. We have our monthly, quarterly check-ins. In fact, now we have the bi-monthly check-ins, and we're like, wow, this is very new because they are not only giving us funding to do our work, they're also strengthening our capacity as an organization, which is fantastic. And so we just recently had our training, a week-long training with the IRC team, and it was fantastic. Everyone went supercharged and back to work. We're coming right off from an event, a graduation, Reignite graduation, and we're here right now at the office and on this call because of how much impact that training has done for us. So honestly, I would say that Ignite is different. It's like something we've never seen before. We even got a country visit, which is new. Many funders have never seen our beneficiaries before. They only see videos and pictures, but the Ignite team came all the way, visited our community to the IDP camp, and they were right there with the beneficiaries and spoke to them and felt them, and even had meals with them, and it was a very emotional time. So I'll say the project Ignite is very different. It's unique, and I hope that funders will begin to work that way to genuinely care about the organizations and not just the beneficiaries that the organizations work with. And I think that that's going to be very powerful and help us have sustainable work. Thank you. Over to you, Joyce.
Thank you very much, Raquel. I think you've given us an insight into how the Ignite project has helped to support the work that you're doing, which is very important for the girls and the women in Nigeria. But also what you've brought out is the fact that this project has helped to transform how your organization works and how the relationships between your organization and IRC is, because that's the big question around principled partnerships. You can have partnerships, but if they're not principled, if they do not leverage on the capacities of both sides, then they're not really moving things forward. And I think that links very well to our the next part of our session today, which is on how we've used resource mobilization, strengthening support to transform the way in which national and local actors are able to access funding, not just for implementation of humanitarian response for child protection, but also in the way they build their own organizations, because the organizations are made up of people, and people need to be supported with those organizations. And Raquel has given us a good insight into that. So thank you very much, Kalinda. Thank you very much, Raquel. I'm now going to invite Usha Limbu, who is the localization advisor with Street Child UK, as well as Neelima Akhter, who is the founder and president of Agrajtra, in Bangladesh, and we'll hear from them about the kind of support and relationship that these two organizations have had in terms of supporting national and local actors to access more direct funding, which is a very important thing in our time with the changes that we are seeing, particularly in the humanitarian sector. So I'll hand over to Limbu, who will then to Usha Limbu, who will then hand over to Neelima Akhter, and then I will hear from them. Usha, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joyce, and I hope you can all hear me clearly. It was so great to hear about the work Ignite is doing. So hello, everyone. I am Usha. As Joyce said, I work as the localization advisor at Street Child UK. Street Child works to ensure that children are safe in school and learning, and we specialize particularly in working with local organizations. And that's because we firmly believe that locally led humanitarian action, especially child protection, is more effective and efficient. Our localization strategy rests on 5 main pillars. So that's risk management, relationship, representation, reach and results, and resource mobilization. So our resource mobilization help desk focuses on this 5th pillar. We have delivered this help desk across 8 countries and have supported about 40 local actors through it. And partners have altogether applied for over 12 million US dollars through our support from the help desk, and so far have secured about 4.6 million US dollars following our support. We have worked very closely with the Global Child Protection Area of Responsibility to scale this in all these different contexts. And this initiative was designed specifically because we realize that despite many efforts around localization, there are still local organizations who face numerous challenges in accessing funding directly, and especially flexible funding. So we work very closely with respective clusters and AORs to activate this help desk upon request. So what the help desk does is it's a free service, and we offer 3 distinct types of support. The first area of support is program design. So we offer guidance to local organizations on theory of change or logical framework and any other program documentation or framework that might enhance their funding proposals. Second area is proposal development itself. So this is when local organizations can reach out to us for a review of their written proposals. And our team that comprises of grant writers, finance specialists, a fundraising specialist, and a child protection specialist, or another thematic specialist based on the call for proposal. They then review and provide detailed feedback on the proposal with the goal to increase the likelihood of success for their proposals. And then finally, the third service we offer through this help desk is coaching and mentoring. And this is especially for organizations who have received feedback from donors on unsuccessful proposals. So we sit down with our local partners and help them address funder feedback on proposals to cover specific areas for improvement so that they are better positioned for success next time or in the next few rounds of proposal submission. In addition to these 3 types of services, we also assist existing partners and our frequent collaborators through consortium formation. We also regularly exchange information on fundraising opportunities, and we also support through donor introductions. This initiative is further complemented by our resource mobilization workshops, and that includes proposal writing skills as well. In the last year, together with the Global CPAOR, we have trained about 153 local organizations across South Sudan, Somalia, Ethiopia, Cameroon, and Uganda. And of course, there are many local organizations who are better positioned and who have sizable portfolios and are more likely to have successful proposals and generate direct funding. Therefore, we like to focus on small to medium-sized organizations who haven't had much success in their fundraising efforts, and organizations who have not won a funding ever, and especially organizations who are women-led, refugee-led, youth-led, and organizations of people with disabilities. So as I said, in the past and so far, the initiative has been successful in not just generating immediate funds for organizations by helping them submit successful proposals, but in the medium to longer term, we have also worked with these organizations to strengthen their own resource mobilization capacities and competencies so that they can continue to generate more funding and resources for themselves. So this is still an ongoing initiative, and we will continue to work with the global CPAOR and other stakeholders who are interested in scaling this effort. We are especially committed to continuing this initiative now, considering the current funding landscape for humanitarian work, for development work, and we fully realize that local partners have been hit the hardest, and there's even less amount of funding that they can now apply for. So we have been further reinvigorated, and we will work together with them to ensure that we are able to generate more resources so that they are able to continue their brilliant work. I would now like to invite Neelima, who is the president of Agrajatra. Her organization are doing excellent work with the Rohingya refugee communities and host communities in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. And Agrajatra have previously benefited through our resource mobilization help desk, and they continue to be one of our strongest partners. Neelima, over to you.
Thank you, Usha. Agrajatra is a women-led local organization in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, rooted in the values of confirmation, dignity, and justice. For last 27 years, Agrajatra has been protecting the most vulnerable, particularly children and women, across Rohingya refugee camps and surrounding host community in Cox's Bazar. We do believe that every child deserves to be safe, heard, and empowered, no matter their background or circumstance. Our work is guided by a child-centered, trauma-informed, and culturally sensitive approaches and focuses on child-centered, multipurpose, community-centered, MPCC. MHPSS service, problem management plus, PM plus, case management, case management service, community-based children protection, community building and advocacy, providing shelter and ensuring all basic needs for 24 street children since 2001. Next page. Regarding
next page, please.
Next page, please.
Thank you.
Regarding resource mobilization help desk support, we Agrajatra receiving child protection proposal review support for street child. Resource mobilization help desk during the joint response plan JRP 2003 for the Rohingya resource mobilization collaboration started in 2019 and post-COVID-19 situation. Street Child initiate several workshops engaging the child protection subsector in its local partner members in an in-depth review of proposal review and budget through its experts was offered. Agrajatra was one of the organizations supported was their child protection proposal was selected in the JRP. Despite Agrajatra not receiving the JRP funding, eventually due to competing priorities, the refined proposal help generated funding for child protection through others donors directly. The proposal review support to Agrajatra continues for across to direct funding like Comic Relief UK, IRC, JFFO, Muslim Charity, Health and Needy UK, BPRM, and TDS. Thanks a lot for your continuous support. all of you. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neelima, and thank you so much, Usha. It was good to hear the background of the resource mobilization work that Street Child has been doing together with the global CPOR in different contexts. Bangladesh is just one of the contexts. And thank you, Neelima, for sharing your experience about how you work together with Street Child, how they were able to support you to review and submit your proposal. And although at the time, the proposal was not funded, the fact that you received that support to work on the proposal actually resulted in funding from other donors. So just to encourage other national and local actors that even when things don't work out, when you knock on one door, remember that you can knock on other doors because you never know when your opportunity comes. And that's the effort that we have to keep putting into moving localization forward. So now that we've heard from these two areas of work, the Equitable Partnerships Project and Ignite and the Resource Mobilization Project, we're now going to have a panel discussion, which is going to be moderated by Denis, who you met at the beginning of this call, so that we can hear a bit more about the processes as well as the experiences from all the speakers in the work that they're doing in the two projects or in the two areas of work. I'll hand over now to Denis to moderate the panel discussion, and I'll see you shortly. Denis, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you for moderating the first phase of this session. And so how we will go about in this panel discussion is that in case you have any questions, please do feel free to share them in the chat, and our panelists will also attempt to respond them during the Q&A session. So my first question will be directed to Kalinda. We've really had good practices that have been shared both by Raquel and yourself on Ignite project. And we're just wondering, in terms of the project and the lessons learned, how can they be scaled up or adopted also in other contexts? Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Denis, for this question. I think we heard it firsthand from Raquel, how important it is to hear from the grantees and their experiences. If we ensure that when we're doing flexible funding, that the grantees' voices are at the core, sometimes when we're doing the work as a funder, sometimes just to hear the feedback of what actually is working and how can we further support is just so important. And throughout a grant cycle, just to ensure that the voices of grantees are heard. So I was so happy to hear from Raquel how important having a site visit was important, just to showcase the work that Raquel is doing. And for us, it was always a part of our project design, ensuring that we have this accompaniment throughout the project. But it's so important to hear what is actually the impact of the support that we're providing, and also be open to listening to any challenges, and throughout the project to be able to adapt how we are working to ensure that then we are really meeting the needs that the grantees have, because even any solutions that are presented in this project need to be led by the grantees. They know their communities, they know their local context better than we will ever do. I am based in London. I will not be the best person to design a project of how it's going to be impacted in the target countries. But by listening to the frontliners, to the grantees, we are actually ensuring that all of our strategies are properly designed to respond to the needs of the local communities and adolescent girls. And we are always at awe from this project. One of the main lessons learned is that there's a ripple effect when you provide flexible funding, because then you can see initiatives that can be scalable, and they are based on what we hear from the impact from our grantees. Therefore, is always a good investment, because then even if Ignite no longer exists, we know that our grantees will be able to carry on their work, that we know that adolescent girls will be able to continue their education, to feel like they're gaining and building confidence. And this for us is one of the main lessons learned of this project. It's always a good investment when we're focusing on long-term flexible funding. So these are some of the few lessons so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kalinda. And I know that in our next session of question, you will also respond on how some of these lessons can be scaled up. My next question is to Raquel. Raquel, you've really shared on equitable partnership and how this equitable partnership between local and international actors has really strengthened your organization. In terms of what role does collaboration between international and local actors play in the success of resource mobilization initiatives, and how can these partnerships be improved?
Okay, thank you very much, Denis. So I would use our partnership with the IGNAT projects as an example in responding to your question. We're a local organization working in Nigeria, and we're like the heart of the work. We are on ground with the girls. Like I mentioned earlier, we're just coming from a graduation from the Reignite 2.0, and we are the ones that today, experience the barriers, get into the community, get into the IDP camp. We are the ones that work with the community, gain their trust. We are the ones that are on ground. But on our banners, on our materials, everything you see the Ignite logo right beside Beyond the Classroom logo. So we're not just representing Beyond the Classroom in the project, we're representing the Ignite project. And with the Ignite project, we're not just representing the Ignite, we're representing other 4 organizations that is being funded by another bigger organization, which is the AFD. So the collaboration is key, because the AFD will not come down straight to Nigeria and come to the IDP camp in Abuja, Nigeria, and start to implement projects. We have to work with somebody else to ensure that the person who understands the context is able to do the work. And so the Ignite consortium came together to say, you know what, people on ground can do the work. Raquel in Nigeria, in Abuja, Nigeria, Dorcas, for instance, in Taraba, Favor in Calabar can actually do the work in their context. We can understand their context through their eyes and then fund them to do the work. So that's how powerful collaborations can be. And with us also, we don't just do the work ourselves. We're also working with the community leaders. So if you see some of our pictures from today, we have the women leader right there at the graduation. We have the chairman of the IDP camp right there in the graduation. And people who set up the canopies today are men from the community. So the way that it works from up, that we learned that international donors give us funding to do the work on ground. We also cascade that locally and also work with local people in the community. So we're learning from the international organizations, and that is cascading. So what I'll say with that is, I think we should start with trust at all times, because a lot of times nonprofits do not have the resources to do the work locally. And so if they can build trust with nonprofit locally, it would help them to be able to do the work better, and also to continue to invest in the organizations. I mentioned earlier that this is the first time a funder in 15 years of our work, a funder is concerned about our organization and our structure. And so we just recently filled our OCAT, which we've always done every 2 years ourselves. But for the first time, Ignite is funding us to do that. And so it is a great partnership. And this is the first time a funder is not calling us a grantee, but a grantee partner. And so we're like, okay, wow. So the partnership is great, because we are learning from the international organizations and we're cascading it down to the local organizations that we're working with and the communities we're working with.
Thank you. My next question will be, Usha, maybe you can respond to the next question. And this is, how has the resource mobilization help desk supported this resource mobilization help desk? How has it contributed to increasing the success rate of local actors in securing funding? You talked about it, but maybe you can expound about it in a bit.
Sure, thanks, Denis. So firstly, in terms of instant success, we have examples of over 15 partners whose proposals have been successful following support through the help desk. The most recent one being an organization in Ethiopia who were also trained through our resource mobilization and proposal writing training in June last year. So almost exactly 12 months ago. They are a very young organization. They are a youth-led organization, and they were supported through the help desk in submitting one of their proposals. And they have just secured their first ever funding since their registration, which we believe is substantial. And even though it's not a big amount of funds, we hope that the experience we have shared with them and the skills that we have exchanged with them will help them leverage that funding to secure more resources in the future. In terms of medium-term success, I think Agra Jatra is a good example where they have worked and put their own resources behind the same proposal and concept that we initially supported them with, and have managed to secure funding from multiple donors. I think one of our partners in Uganda, Awad, are also here. I think I saw Stephen's comment. So another example where Awad in Uganda, where we initially partnered with them together for a project where they were sub-grantees, and then in the last 5 years, they're now one of the very few organizations that received funding directly from ECW for their amazing work. So I think there are more examples, but I think in terms of medium-term success, even though the help desk is more of a one-off support for immediate submission, I think we have worked with organizations following that to gradually, or in some cases more rapidly, strengthen their capacities to access more funding. And I think thirdly, and finally, we do have complementing initiatives, as I said before, to focus on strengthening institutional capacities, specifically for resource mobilization that goes beyond just proposal writing. So it's also strengthening your propositions, making your propositions more strategic for different types of funders. As I said earlier as well, in the last year, we've trained over 150 organizations across 5 different countries, and they are now better capacitated to not just look for more strategic opportunities, but also look out for flexible funding instead of just earmarked funding. As Kalinda emphasized earlier, the value of flexible funding is immense, especially for local organizations. So we share strategies like that in those sessions that helps organizations in the longer term to develop their own unique style when it comes to resource mobilization and really register success with it. So so far we have, through our 5R framework, focused very heavily on resource mobilization, but also there are the 4 other areas that we will continue to work on to further leverage on the success of our resource mobilization help desk and efforts, so that child protection actors can not just actively engage in the wider humanitarian landscape, but can also influence it.
Okay, sorry, I'll pick up from here. So maybe just to ask from your organization, what are the key areas that your organization has benefited from the resource mobilization help desk? And if you were to recommend the help desk to other local actors, what would you say about it? We've already heard about the proposal writing support, but are there other areas that you've seen progress coming because of this resource mobilization? And would you recommend the help desk to other actors? I hope the question is clear, but I'm happy to repeat.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. Okay, actually, it is not only proposal. Since during COVID situation, when we partnering with Street Children, we also having some support for organizational policy development. So internal control system, and also this also help us a lot. This is actually initiated from others organization also, but Street Children giving us a good example in this regards regarding the internal policy development. Is there any policy gap? There's also help us a lot to review and revisit the policies. And organizational, internal, financial management, HR process. This is also included. And most of that, the another big burn issue is like safeguarding training. and PSCA training. This also we receive from Street Children Management, and this also help us a lot in terms of the organizational compliance and the processes. So we really thank you to Street Children, as they always are with us like a supporting a partner organization, not colonization approach. So it is actually really appreciated of Street Children approach, and we always encourage to local organizations to get this type of support from. Is there any opportunity from INGO? And they can also provide this way. So organization can implement, the local organization will be the implementing organization, and Street Children, like they are always supporting us technically. So this is also help us a lot to manage the project. So this is also a good example, I think. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Your response was very clear, and you gave us several examples of how the partnership has helped you to grow, looking at things like child safeguarding. And we remember even at the beginning of this session, we were told we need to remember our child safeguarding principles and policies, even in a meeting like this. So it's very good to hear the kind of relationship you've had. And I just want to emphasize that point, because this is also a point that was raised by Raquel in the relationship that they have with IRC. There is a partnership there. It's not about we give you the money, you implement. No, is that we are working together. No organization is perfect, but we are learning from each other. So I think that's a very important part. So we've come to the end of the questions directly to the panel, but I'll ask the panel members to stay on the video, because I'm now going to go to the chat and try and pick up some comments and questions from the chat. We've had some engaging comments on the chat, so I want to pick up on that, and then maybe if there are any questions, I will direct them to the specific speakers. So just want to say that, and I'll start more recently and more with the comments. So Yvonne, thank you very much. You've said that organizational capacity training and compliance is instrumental, and it's good to see this example as part of child protection response. Just looking from other comments, Imtiad says that effective localization lies in the heart of direct funding, and the only way to sustain the work of local partners and presence will be to support them back as a community, in the communities as a first responder. So thank you for those comments. We have a couple of questions. One is that from Isban, that national and local actors are recognized to play a critical role in the humanitarian response, but they do not have the same access to resources as international actors. If the sector was to prioritize 2 areas of capacity strengthening for local actors, what would this be? Maybe I can ask Usha, just in terms of the institutional capacity strengthening that you've been doing, maybe if you would like to come in on that question, or if anybody else in the panel has an answer, please let me know, and I'm happy to bring you in, because we'd also like to hear from the national and local actors who themselves have been receiving this support. Usha, over to you.
Thank you, Joyce and Isvan, for your question. So from our experience working with, I think, over 250 partners, I think many of them have received different types of organizational capacity support. We have seen, and I think this is probably one area that donors or the community can prioritize, is capacity strengthening that is not tied to a project, because that we have observed can have certain limitations. It's very time bound. It can become become very prescriptive. So I think many local organizations, our partners, have told us that capacity strengthening should be an ongoing and a medium to longer term process. Although I understand that resources for that are scarce, but if we were to advocate for something today, I think it would be medium to longer term capacity strengthening for local actors that aren't specifically tied to a project. The second, I think, area to prioritize, apart from resource mobilization, I would yet like to emphasize that without funding, local organizations cannot carry out the work that they do. So apart from resource mobilization, I think it would be representation, because from what we have seen over the last 10 years, our local partners do amazing work. They are technically best placed to do it. They are proximate to communities that are affected, but we don't hear about their work as much. And I think that does come down to representation, how their work is represented and how their work is perceived, because there is definitely a discrepancy between what they do and what is invested in them. So we would definitely like, if we can, to really call for more investments in organizations or in representation of organizations, whether that is comms, whether that is information management, so that they are able to better represent their work in a more accurate way, so that they can use that to direct further funding and resources to their organization so that they can carry out the important child protection work that they do.
Thank you, Usha. And whilst we have you on the floor, Stephen has asked the question about how Street Child can influence other INGOs to do similar work. And his question is also that, isn't this pushing Street Child's localization, is Street Child's localization approach pushing Street Child out of humanitarian business? Maybe I can just comment on that last one while you think about the response. But I think that is the whole point, that humanitarian response is ideally supposed to be done at country level with national capacities, but we know the limitations that come into play. So if we are driven out of business as international actors, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's more about strength, it's more about strengthening the capacities at national level to deliver and respond to the needs of children, to the needs of families, than us being in business or out of business. And this year is a particularly hard year for all of us in the humanitarian world when it comes to this. So it's even more important that we actually put our action in terms of strengthening localization. So maybe Usha, 1 minute very quickly on how, if at all, Street Child can influence other organizations to do similar work. Over to you.
Thanks again, Joyce. Yeah, I was smiling at Stephen's question because I don't know if our CEO is here in the meeting, but one thing he always tells us is that localization basically is Street Child trying to work ourselves out of a job. And he says that in a way where he truly believes that it should be the local organizations who are getting a larger portion of the pie. And as we know now, the pie is getting smaller and smaller. So therefore, we are even more committed to making sure that more of our local partners have access to funding. In terms of what we're doing to influence other INGOs, I think there are probably 3 main things that we have been doing. So sharing evidence is one, and we have been working with Denis, Joyce, with the Global CPAOR to try our best to evidence the impact of our initiatives in the last 5 years, so that other INGOs can join us, can create something of their own or strengthen what they're already doing in order to work with and support more local organizations. I think the second thing, apart from evidence generation, is I think we actively work and partner with other INGOs through various different platforms to make sure that we are also learning from what other organizations are doing. So for example, the Active Capacity Assessment Matrix, or ACAM, that we have developed is a version of the OCATs that Raquel previously mentioned, and ODMs and all these other capacity assessment tools that many organizations have generated. We've worked with local, but as well as other international partners to develop something of our own that is very tailored to local actors. And again, we have then also shared that with other international actors so that they can further refine what they're doing in terms of capacity assessment, as well as capacity strengthening based on the results of that tool. And I think thirdly, wherever we can, we try and shout as much as we can about the value of local actors being in the front line and them being capacitated and resourced to do the work that they do. And this really truly comes from our association with over to 50 organizations, and seeing the brilliant work that they do, and therefore making sure that whenever there is an opportunity or strategic opportunity, we try and put them front and center so that they are able to access more funding, more experience, so that they can they can continue their work. So this model we have shared with our partners and in different fora as much as we can. So those, I think, would be the three main things we are doing at the moment. Over to you, Joyce. Sorry, I think that was more than 1 minute.
Thank you, Usha. And just as we're about to conclude, I just want to say that to the Global CPOR, together with Street Child, are working to document what we've been doing together on resource mobilization. So what we've been doing, the lessons, the approaches, and everything will be out there for people to learn from and adapt to their context. We are left with only 3 minutes, so I know there are a couple of questions from Sarah. I will answer them on the chat if that's okay. I'm going to invite Neelima, if you can just give your key message finally, and then I will ask Raquel to come in at the end. And Raquel, in your final remarks, if you could also speak as to how your work has been able to bring in adolescents. There was a question from Marion Mwebi around how adolescents are part of this localization process. We would really appreciate that, so that we hear from you on your key message, but we also hear about the participation of children. So Neelima, over to you. If you could keep your key message brief and concise, we will really appreciate, and then we'll invite Raquel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joy. Can I want to speak again, please?
Yes, please, but 1 minute, please. That would really be appreciated.
Thank you.
Then it leaves 1 minute for Raquel. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, this is my name is Mohammed Helaluddin. I am working as an advisor grants. Okay, so this is actually what our experience and what we are facing difficulties in camps. If I say, like last 2 years, we also give the good example regarding 2023 GRP. We also part of that. But after that, what we see now, last 2 years, it is in the Rohingya refugee context in GRP, we are unable to apply for a appealing partner because of there are 2 issues here, like rationalization process is one big barrier, big challenge for the local organization. And another is sector. It is, I mean, all the sectors, not only child protection sector. It is not allowing GRP as an appealing partner who actually not having advanced preposition for the funding for next year. So in that case, this is very difficult, very challenging for the fundraising process, because we are in the crisis. We are in the affected community, but we are not in the GRP list. So this is very difficult for us for fundraising. There is a good example also, but there is
thank you, Mohammed. I'm sorry, I'll have to cut you short. I'm so sorry, but we have to give a chance to Raquel to speak.
I am already okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Raquel, over to you, 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity. So for us, we always say that nothing for us without us, so that we're talking about the adolescent girls and the children. So to create any product, maybe a board game or the Reignite project or her safe space, which is our safe space upstairs in the office, what we did was meet with the girls in the community. We always go empty. We always just say, you know what, tell us what the challenges are. We listen carefully to their stories, their ideas, and the situations that they are in, because that matters to us in designing our projects. And since we've actually been doing this for so many years, we've realized that asking the girls and the children what pressures they are facing, how they're navigating family expectations and all that has helped us to develop our project very well. So what's truly rewarding about the Reignite project is that we're able to work with the girls in developing the programs themselves. So for example, our board game that the girls used to play, which is the Go Girl board game they use in the community, they co-designed the board game with us to ensure that it captures what's happening in the community. So for every project with adolescent girls, with communities, in school, out of school, you cannot do any project for them without them. So we always have to include the girls as a girl-centered approach in developing every project. That's how you're able to measure that the answers that you're looking for, you've gotten them. Because if you bring the solutions from your office to the communities, you will know if what you've been doing is already achieved. So it's important to always work with them at their level and coming with nothing, expecting to get content from them to develop your project. I hope that helps.
That's brilliant, and it actually brings us to a very good point, which is nothing for national and local actors without national and local actors. And I think the examples today from Ignite and from the Resource Mobilization Help Desk have shown how we can work together in a principled manner to move the localization agenda forward, even in very challenging times. We are now over time. Thank you, everyone, the panelists, and thank you all the participants for joining us today. We wish you a great time during the rest of the annual meeting and a good end to your week. Thank you very much and goodbye.